to find your dreams.
Oh, hi. If you guys don't know, one of my favorite artists is Kanye West, and despite all the controversy he's been in over these past few years,
I see good things about Hitler also.
Kanye has released so many good songs, all part of timeless albums. But of course, some songs are better than others. Kanye has released 10 solo albums throughout his career, and for the most part, they're all really good. Of course, with a few exceptions. So today, I'll be ranking every one of Kanye's solo albums. Only his solo albums and only officially released media though. So no Watch the Throne, no Kids See Ghost, and no Donda 2. Without further ado, let's get to ranking every single Kanye West album from worst to best. It's kind of the common synopsis that Jesus is King is one of Ye's weaker albums. This album was Kanye's first and full Christian album, and I don't mean Christian inspired like Donda. No, I mean full-on Christian album. And yeah, it does work to a certain degree. The first 3 tracks are fairly solid, but the tracklist starts to lose its steam as it goes on. This was definitely one of Ye's most experimental albums, and while I do appreciate it for the message Kanye was trying to convey here, it just wasn't interesting enough to keep me engaged. As the years go on, I feel as if people start to like this album less and less, and I can see why. For the positives on this album, the final 2 tracks, Ghost Town and Violent Crimes, are arguably top 10 Kanye tracks in my opinion. But I can't help but feel like this album's missing something. If you didn't know, this album released alongside Ye's other collab album in 2018, Kids See Ghosts, and because of that, both track lists are fairly small. And I usually don't have a problem with short albums. Hell, I prefer a shorter track list in most cases, but 7 songs only leaves me wanting a lot more. Plus, aside from the 2 tracks I mentioned earlier, most songs on this album are either mediocre at best or yikes. Once again, I'll always appreciate this album for its message, highlighting Ye's struggle with bipolar disorder, but he just has so many better projects. Okay. I know this is probably going to be my most controversial opinion because this album is regarded as one of Kanye's best and most experimental albums to date. And yes, while it was very experimental and I'd argue paved the way for many other albums in its genre, I just don't like it. Okay, while dislike might be a stretch, there's just not many songs on this album I like. But okay, what's good about this album? Well, for starters, the songs on this album I do enjoy are some of my favorite Kanye songs. Heartless is a timeless classic, Love Lockdown's message and vocal delivery is impactful, and Coldest Winter might be my favorite song on the album. So yes, this album isn't all skips, but I'm not too fond of the slow, heavy auto-tuned, and repetitive flow on most of these songs. If you like this album, that's great, but it just doesn't appeal to me that much. We finally got into Kanye's most recent album, and I'd argue his most overhated. The common complaint with this album is that it's too long, bloated with filler, and the songs that are good are nowhere near the same level as Kanye's previous work. And honestly, yeah. The album is very long, with Donda Deluxe being his longest album ever with a whopping 32 songs. With a tracklist as big as that, you're bound to have some filler songs. But believe it or not, I'm here to defend this album. I feel as if sometimes the mass audience forgets just how many good songs there are on here, like Jail Part 1, Hurricane, Moon, and of course, Off the Grid. Plus, this album's production is some of the best production on any Kanye album. Now, I'm not denying this album's previously mentioned flaws. I mean, Donda is ranked fairly low after all, but I see people calling it his worst record, and I just can't help but disagree with that. You know, I've always thought of this record to be a slightly worse Yeezus, but a slightly better Donda. It has the positives of Yeezus, albeit to a lesser extent, like this album's amazing production, and it feels like Ye has finally found his footing with the sound he wanted to do. But, just like Donda, this album just drags on, man. I mean, it's not as long as an album, but it still suffers with that bloated with filler problem. But when this album hits, it really hits, and I mean really hits. Half of this album are bangers, like near perfect tracks. Ultralight Beam, fire. Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, fire. Famous, really weird music video, but still fire. And even deeper into the album with songs like Waves, Wolves, and of course St. Pablo are all great tracks. But the intermission is super underwhelming, even for an intermission, and part 2 falls from such a great first part. Not a bad album overall, but just good. Yeezus is probably Kanye's most interesting album. And for the most part, that's a good thing. This is Kanye at his most energetic, and you can tell. He seems like the final boss in some sort of video game. He's out for blood on some of these songs. The opening track On Sight acknowledges this. Yeezy Season is back, and back with a vengeance after the comeback album that was My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Black Skinhead. Wait, can I even say that on YouTube? It's probably my favorite song of the album. It's upbeat and nasty. The instrumental saying black after every bar in the first verse only emphasizes the song's message, albeit a controversial one. Although I can't deny the dumb bar.
Keep it 300 like the Romans.
Wait, actually, I just realized I never mentioned the infamous bar on Father Stretch My Hands Part 1. You know the one.
And I get bleach on my t-shirt.
I Am a God kind of reminds me of Power in the sense that Ye is put on this higher standpoint in Power. Although unlike Power, Ye is fully leaning into him being a god. And I can admit, it does come off as a bit striking. New Slaves is one of my favorite Kanye songs ever. This is the song that I think signifies the feel of the album the most, and it's kind of hard to explain without actually listening to the song, but its tension built first verse to the beat switch. Seriously, this might be the most striking beat switch in any Kanye song. Just, the song is great, okay? Hold My Liquor is great, I'm In It is kind of mediocre, and actually it might be my least favorite song on the album, and Blood on the Leaves is the top 3 song on the album. Field Trip and Set It Up are kind of forgettable, and Bound 2... Okay, are you guys ready for my opinion? I don't like Bound 2. Now, before you unsubscribe, leave a bad comment and report this video, let me explain. First of all, I know why everyone likes this song, because to an extent, it is kind of charming to me. It's nothing like any other song on the album, and I do like the one-liners here. But it's just so annoying. Not only is it overplayed, which I wouldn't mind an overplayed song, I think songs like I Wonder don't suffer too much from being overplayed, but the sample is just too annoying to be everywhere. The lyrics aren't funny or clever to me, just... I don't know. I just don't know. I've never liked it, and I never will. Okay, I've rambled about this album for quite a bit now, so let me end it off on a positive note. This might be the best production on any Kanye album. So much so that it inspired a whole nother album's production, Travis Scott's Utopia. Yeezus is one of Kanye's most contrasting albums, but I'll always appreciate it. You know, I've seen this album be regarded as not only the best of the Graduation trilogy, but arguably his best album of all time. And honestly, I've kind of disagreed with that. Now, this album is really good. Hell, this whole trilogy is really good. But since this was Ye's first studio album, you can kind of tell. Now, this album isn't outdated per se, but it does feel like Kanye was trying to find his sound here, which of course isn't a problem. I just like his later albums where he had mastered such sounds. Although for a first album, the production is great. So many fun beats here, and the songs are super consistent. We Don't Care, All Falls Down, Spaceship, and probably Kanye's most impressive song, Through the Wire. For those who don't know, while this album was in production, Kanye got into a really bad car accident. And you know, most artists will probably give up, take some time to heal, but no, not Kanye. This guy recorded a whole song with his jaw wired shut. And it's the best song on the album. Such an inspiring and iconic track list, and overall, a great debut album. Whoever let Touch the Sky and Gold Digger be back to back on the track list is a madman. But in a good way, because these are only 2 of the highlights on an album full of great songs. Take everything about the College Dropout and just make it even better. Better production, better delivery, and this is where it feels like Kanye has found his sound. This is the first but not last time I'll be mentioning the features, because the previously mentioned Touch the Sky and Gold Digger have features on par with Kanye himself. Songs like We Major and Diamonds from Sierra Leone have features as the highlight, but that's not to undermine Kanye himself, because some of the best songs on here have no features. Hey Mama, Roses, Addiction, and Celebration are all great solo tracks. Late Registration is one of Kanye's best solo albums, and I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking it's his best. But I have 2 that I think is just slightly better. I'm sure all of you know the final 2 albums remaining, and between these 2, it was just very hard to decide. Both are amazing albums in my opinion, and putting one over the other just feels wrong. But alas, number 2. There's a reason why when people defend Kanye, the common excuse is, but he made Graduation! Because he did. Graduation is the 3rd album in the Graduation trilogy and by far the best one. You start off with Good Morning, an excellent wake-up track and my favorite opening track in any Kanye album. Champion, excellent sample, feels upbeat and inspiring. Stronger, Kanye's most popular song and for a damn good reason too. It's great. I Wonder, there's a reason why this song has been all over TikTok recently. It's such a good song. Overplayed sure, but the sample and lyrics just work so well together. Good Life, a song so good that the legend Michael Jackson liked it, and T-Pain's vocals can't tell me nothing. Oh my god, might be the best song on the album. Such a banger of a track. It feels cinematic because you can't touch Yeezy. Barry Bonds. It's good. Chicken Hot Girls. Not so much. This is the point of the album which really brings it down for me, because they're just okay. Flashing Lights. I genuinely almost forgot Flashing Lights was on this album because there was no way Stronger, I Wonder, and Flashing Lights were all on the same album. But nope, this masterpiece of a song is also on this album, which is just insane to me. Everything I Am. Kanye just doesn't miss when he's on a piano beat, huh? The Glory is Glorious and Homecoming. Remember when I said Can't Tell Me Nothing was my favorite song on the album? No, it's this one right here. Chris Martin on the hook and Kanye's rapping is at an all-time best here. Such a good song and top 10 Kanye. Big Brother. The electronic beat fits so well and I love the song's message. And lastly, Good Night. In all honesty, it's kind of one of my least favorite songs on the album, but who cares? This track list overall is so good. I know I said Late Registration is when Kanye found his sound, but Graduation is where he mastered it. Plus, this is the album that got me into Kanye. And if you couldn't already tell, my avatar is wearing the Graduation hoodie, so it's safe to say that I love this album. But somehow, there's something even better. I really didn't think he could make a better album than Graduation. Genuinely. How do you top an album that not only perfectly caps off a trilogy, but have to come back from a lackluster previous album along with a controversial VMA appearance? But yet, he did it. This absolute madman somehow did it. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is not only my favorite album, it's not only regarded as one of the best albums of the 2010s, but it's even Kanye's favorite album.
Myself, it could be this album against that album. I had to go Dark Fantasy against, well, I don't think anything goes against Dark Fantasy, but
at least I think. He's gone on to say that nothing can top Dark Fantasy, but then backpedals and says that Yeezus and even 808s are better albums.
Dark Fantasy is like one of the best albums, and Yeezus and 808s are so much better and stronger.
But regardless, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is by far Kanye's best album. You know that one meme that goes, "Can we get much higher?" Yeah, that's from the opening and title track, Dark Fantasy. Power is a crazy and hype track that really showcases Kanye's mental state at that very moment. All of the lights, Rihanna on the hook is amazing and probably my favorite use of trumpets in any song. Monster. Nicki's verse, enough said. Devil in a New Dress is a top 3 Kanye song in my opinion, and Rick Ross steals the show here. And of course, Runaway. While not my favorite Kanye song, it's damn close and such a perfect track. And all the songs we just mentioned, 10 out of 10 songs. No album so far has even had more than one song be a 10 out of 10, and this album has so many. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is not only my favorite Kanye album, but my favorite album of all. This list was incredibly hard to make, especially as we got into the top 5, but nonetheless, I did it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and if you want me to continue making these commentary videos, please like, subscribe, and share this in any way you can. My commentary videos do not always perform the best, which kinda sucks because I work my hardest on these, so I really appreciate all of you who watched it all the way through. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.